Funny how people unsubscribe from your life without notice. One day they swear forever, the next they're gone. But hey, if you're here, hit subscribe. It's free, unlike loyalty. When I found out I was pregnant, I thought it was the happiest moment of my life. After years of struggling with infertility, my husband Luke and I were finally going to have the child we had always dreamed of. But what should have been a joyful journey turned into a nightmare because of my sister-in-law, Lila. Lila had a messy past. She had an affair with her ex-husband's brother, which led to a brutal divorce. But despite cheating on Joe, her ex, she refused to let go of him emotionally. While Joe moved on, Lila clung to the idea of him being part of the family, even when it was clear he wanted nothing to do with her. At first, Lila seemed genuinely excited about my pregnancy. I thought she just wanted to be a doting aunt. But soon her enthusiasm took a strange turn. She kept pushing baby names on us, except all of them were variations of Joe. At first I thought it was a joke. But she wouldn't stop. I politely explained that Luke and I had already decided not to name our baby after anyone in the family. We wanted something unique, something meaningful to us. Lila acted hurt, but I assumed she would get over it. I was wrong. She kept sending name suggestions. She tried guilt-tripping me, claiming it would be an honor to the family. I firmly set boundaries. She ignored them. Then things got dangerous. During my pregnancy, I had a minor complication and was prescribed medication. Lila offered to pick it up for me. I didn't think twice. She was family after all. The next day after taking the medicine she gave me, I felt wrong. Dizzy. Nauseous. My vision blurred. I could barely stand. Panic set in. Something wasn't right. Luke rushed me to the ER, and that's when we got horrifying news. The medication I had taken wasn't what my doctor prescribed. It was a much stronger dose. A dosage that could have harmed me, or worse, my baby. At first, I thought the pharmacy had made a mistake. But then a sickening thought crept into my mind. Lila. She had picked up my prescription. Could she have? I called her. My heart pounded as I asked if she had noticed anything unusual. And then she laughed. She laughed. Casually, like it was all some kind of joke, she said she had chosen to get me a higher dose. Her reason? To teach me a lesson for not naming my child after Joe. I was shaking with rage. She didn't even seem to understand what she had done. She said she thought it would help me more. Like she had any right to make that decision for me. I told her what she did was not only dangerous but illegal. Only then did she start apologizing, but it was empty. A pathetic attempt to cover herself. Luke and I knew we had no choice. We had to take legal action. We filed a police report. We documented everything. We told her we were pressing charges. Now the family is split. Some relatives are furious with me, saying I'm overreacting. They claim she was just trying to help. But I can't just let this go. She put my baby's life at risk. And the worst part? She still tries to play the victim. Now I'm questioning everything. Am I doing the right thing? Or am I destroying my family over this? But deep down, I know one thing for sure. If I let this slide, I'll always wonder what if? Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, my sister-in-law, Lila, proved me wrong. After nearly losing my baby because she tampered with my medication, I was still trying to recover, physically and emotionally. I wanted to believe her apology was real, that she actually regretted what she did. But the moment I let my guard down, she showed her true colors again. At first, she called me, claiming she never meant for things to escalate. She said she was only trying to help. For a brief moment, I wanted to believe her. Maybe she truly didn't understand the gravity of what she had done. Maybe she had finally realized her mistake. But then she said something that made my blood run cold. She told me I needed to stop being dramatic, because she had only been trying to help. I was stunned. Did she really just try to blame me for her own reckless actions? As if that wasn't enough, soon after our conversation, whispers started spreading through the family. People began asking strange questions. Then I heard the full extent of Lila's latest lie. She was telling everyone that my baby wasn't Luke's. I couldn't believe it. She was deliberately trying to ruin my marriage, spreading disgusting rumors about my child's paternity just to cover up her own actions. She wanted to shift the blame to make me look like the problem. I confronted her immediately, demanding to know why she would say such a thing. And as always, she brushed it off. She claimed it was a misunderstanding, that I was taking things too seriously. It was the same pattern. Every time she did something awful, she would play innocent and act like I was the unreasonable one. Luke and I knew we had to act. He personally called several family members, making sure they knew the truth. We weren't going to let Lila's lies spread unchecked. But, of course, not everyone wanted to hear the truth. Some of them accused us of stirring up unnecessary drama. Others told us we needed to keep the peace. But at what cost? Would I just sit there and allow Lila to manipulate the situation while putting my child's future at risk? I refused. Lila's game wasn't working on me anymore. I started documenting everything, every text, every comment, every lie she spread. If she thought she could destroy my family with her words, she was wrong. But just when I thought she couldn't sink any lower, she did. My pregnancy became high risk and I was placed on bed rest. I was told to avoid stress at all costs. But how could I rest when Lila refused to stop? She kept pushing, lying, making my life miserable. Even as I tried to focus on my baby, I couldn't escape the weight of her actions. Luke had enough. After watching me suffer for months, he and his parents confronted Lila one last time. They gave her a final warning: stop or be cut off from the family completely. We thought this would finally get through to her, that she would realize the damage she had caused and back down. But no. Instead of apologizing, instead of taking responsibility, Lila did what she always did. She played the victim. And she made everything so much worse. I never imagined my pregnancy would turn into a nightmare. What should have been the happiest time of my life was poisoned by my sister-in-law, Lila. And just when I thought things couldn't get worse, they did. After she tampered with my medication, spread lies about my marriage, and refused to take accountability, I thought I had seen the worst of her. But Lila wasn't done. Not even close. One night, as I lay on bed rest, exhausted and drained from the stress she had already caused, I heard a loud bang on the front door. Before Luke could even react, Lila barged into our home. She was furious, screaming, accusing me of ruining the family. I was frozen in fear. Luke immediately stepped in front of me, his voice firm as he told her to leave. But she wouldn't listen. She was completely unhinged, ranting and raving as if I was the villain in all this. It wasn't until Luke physically forced her out and locked the door that I was able to breathe again. That was it. That was the final straw. We were done waiting for her to come to her senses. We decided to file a restraining order against her. It wasn't an easy decision. Taking legal action against a family member never is. But at this point, Lila had proven time and time again that she was dangerous. This wasn't just about drama. It was about our safety. And with a baby on the way, I wasn't willing to risk it anymore. We started gathering every piece of evidence we had, every threatening message, every time she spread lies about us, every time she harassed me. But as we were building our case, Lila did something that shocked even me. She sent me an email. A threatening email. In it, she outright said that if I went through with the restraining order, she would harm me and my baby. I felt sick. How could someone be this evil? This wasn't just manipulation or lies anymore. This was a direct threat. I showed it to Luke and he was furious. His hands were shaking as he read her words, and without hesitation, he told me to save it as evidence. This was no longer just about keeping the peace within the family. This was about protecting our lives. The next few days were agonizing. I was already struggling with anxiety, but this took it to another level. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't focus. Every time I closed my eyes, I imagined her actually following through on her threats. The moment we walked into that courtroom, I knew this was it. I sat in front of the judge and told everything, from the moment she tried to manipulate my pregnancy to the medication switch, to the lies, to her final unforgivable threat. I watched as the judge took notes, his face serious as he listened to every word. Then, after what felt like an eternity, he granted the restraining order. For the first time in months, I finally felt like I could breathe. But I also knew, this wasn't the end. Lila had already shown how unpredictable she was. And despite the restraining order, the fear still lingered. Would she try to find another way to get to me? Would she retaliate? Luke and I knew we had to keep our guard up. We distanced ourselves from the family members who continued to defend her, knowing they would never truly understand the danger we were in. I want to enjoy the rest of my pregnancy, to focus on bringing my child into the world safely. But even now, I feel like I'm constantly looking over my shoulder. This isn't just family drama anymore. This is war. I thought the worst was over. I thought, after securing the restraining order, that Lila would finally be out of our lives for good. I was wrong. A month ago, I gave birth to my beautiful baby boy, Neil. Despite everything we had been through, holding him for the first time made every ounce of pain and fear seem momentarily worth it. For the first time in months, I felt peace. But Lila wasn't done. One afternoon, while I was home alone with Neil, still recovering from childbirth, I heard a loud, frantic banging on my front door. My heart stopped. Luke had stepped out for a quick errand, and in that moment I was completely vulnerable. When I peeked out the window, my stomach dropped, It was Lila. She was screaming. I could barely process what was happening before her voice rang through the air. "Let me see my baby Joe." Her baby? I was in shock. She was yelling at the top of her lungs, threatening to call Child Protective Services if I didn't let her in. I panicked. I rushed to grab my phone to call Luke, my hands shaking so badly I almost dropped it. But before I could even press send, she forced the door open. I don't know how she got in. Maybe I had forgotten to lock it in my exhaustion. Maybe she had been planning this for weeks, waiting for an opportunity to strike. All I knew was that she was in my house. And I was alone. My body was still weak from delivery, but my only thought was keeping Neil safe. I grabbed him and rushed into the bedroom, locking the door behind me. Lila's screams grew louder as she pounded on the door. "You can't keep him from me. He's my baby too." I was trembling. My son, only a few weeks old, started crying in my arms. The desperation in her voice sent chills through my entire body. I had no choice. I called 911. Through my shaking breath, I explained to the dispatcher that Lila had broken in. I told them about the restraining order, about the threats she had made before. All the while she kept pounding on the door. I have never been more terrified in my entire life. The dispatcher stayed on the line with me, assuring me that officers were on their way. And then, after what felt like an eternity, I heard sirens. The second the officers entered, they found Lila trying to break down the door to get to us. I didn't move. I didn't even breathe until one of the officers told me she was being restrained. And then, finally, I opened the door. I stepped out, clutching Neil to my chest, my entire body still trembling. And there she was, my sister-in-law, the woman who had tormented me throughout my entire pregnancy, being dragged away in handcuffs. Her eyes met mine. And all she said was, "You'll regret this." Lila was arrested that night. And I knew deep in my soul, this wasn't over yet. Final update, we are finally free from Lila's chaos. After months of stress, fear, and uncertainty, our nightmare with Lila is finally over. When the police took her away that night, I thought I could finally breathe again. But what I didn't realize was just how deep her troubles ran. We soon learned that Lila had been trespassing on other people's properties, causing disturbances in her own neighborhood, and even had an outstanding warrant for drunk driving. But that wasn't even the most shocking part. After her arrest, more of her past crimes came to light. It turns out that Lila had been involved in theft, fraud, and other illegal activities for years. Family members had hidden it, trying to protect her reputation. But now there was no more hiding. The truth was out. She had always played the victim, but this time no one believed her. Her attempts to manipulate others failed. More and more people saw her for who she really was, and one by one they cut her off. Now she's back in jail for her latest offenses, and she no longer has a place in our lives. For the first time in a long time, I feel peace. Luke and I have moved forward. We're focused on raising Neil in a safe, loving environment, without fear, without drama, without Lila. This entire ordeal has taught us a valuable lesson. Always trust your instincts. If someone is toxic, manipulative, or dangerous, don't let guilt or pressure stop you from protecting yourself. Set boundaries and enforce them. Some people will never change, and it's okay to walk away for your safety and peace. Family isn't about blood, it's about love and respect. Just because someone is family doesn't mean you have to tolerate their harmful behavior. Thank you all for supporting me through this. Your kind words helped me realize I wasn't crazy, I was just protecting my family. Now that our story has come to an end, I'd love to know, which country are you watching from? Comment below. And if you took something valuable from this story, please like, share, and subscribe to help others learn the importance of setting boundaries. Stay safe, stay strong, and never let anyone take your peace.